we are back with another rendering tutorial on Movie Studio, this time with the 15 Platinum version, which I did say in the last one that I was going to do this, and it's been a while. I was meant to do it ages ago, but I never had the free filming spot to do it until now, and I've actually used it for over 900 hours, and that is astonishing because my 13 one was only 600 hours and the 14 one was only nearly 500 hours. So to have this on for nearly 1,000 hours is amazing. And don't get me wrong, it's an amazing editing software, but I am upgrading to the 16 one only because they're going to be stopped doing updates for the 15 one and only going to do them for the 16 one is how they do it and how they get more money. But the 15 one is a great program, but I really want the updates and the extra new features. So 16 I'll be moving on to soon, and hopefully I could do a rendering tutorial onto that. So let's dive straight in, and the first thing you want to do before you go on to fiddle around with your files, you want to go on to this little settings bar here, which is the video properties. You can also do Alt Enter and you can get to this very fast, but I'm old and I can't be asked to remember every key shortcut. So the video project is the main project that shows into the screen box or the viewing box. Now I want to say this now, I record in 4K, so I use the 4K default. Okay, always go by the default. It's actually really good because I used to make my own, but then I realized that the default is the best solution. So my camera supports 4K 25p because it's a PAL model. In the UK or Europe, every PAL device, when it comes to frames per second, we don't get 30. 30 or 29.970 is NTSC format. So 25 frames per second for PAL is pretty much 30 frames per second. It's very confusing. So I select the 25p one because it matches my camera. So I rather have it matching rather than just if anything goes wrong, I know it isn't because I put up the 30 frames per second and turn it into an NTSC file when it's actually a PAL file. So I'm choosing the 25p one. You make sure you choose the one that's right for you. Now, if you're someone who only records on one setting, say you do 1080p. Oops, don't mean to say that. If you're just recording to 1080p, whether it's for recording games or doing vlogs and stuff like that, you choose the 1080p and then you can choose either the 50p, the 60p or the 24p to 50i. Whatever you're recording at, you match it. Or if you're someone who's recording 4K for vlogs and doing gaming at 1080p, I would say for the project properties, choose the 4K one, so that way this is the default, and always tick the all start new project with these settings and tick this box adjust source media to better match project or rendering settings, and then choose apply. Now for the full resolution rendering quality, you choose best, so that way when you render it will all be at best quality, and choose the one underneath as blend fields. Audio you can mess around with. I have it to 48,000 hertz for the sample rate, and I have it to stereo because I don't use surround sound. Then you want to tick OK to continue, and I'll come back on to this in a bit, but for now grab our file and bring it into our timeline. This is a video that I've already rendered this. I'm only using this one because I've got no raw footage on my main hard drive because it's on another one and it takes forever ages to switch over. So when you imported your file, you want to right click on it. Once you click on it and right click on it and go into properties, disable resample, and then untick to maintain aspect ratio. The reason why you untick the maintain aspect ratio is because when you go into changes to crop size, it doesn't maintain the actual size that it was in, so you can actually have full control of what you're doing. Next is the preview icon, which is basically just above the video screen. Now this just displays what this looks like. It doesn't actually affect the rendering at all, because you remember in properties when I chose to have the rendering on quality on best, that's because when I mess around with this and have it on the preview auto, it chooses what will it best out based on my CPU and stuff like that. And so when I go to edit some slip covers, and my mate David has it's smooth, and constant. Whereas if I choose best and full, it's showing the full 4K clarity. Has made some in the past, some really good ones, because he has the printer and the paper do the slip covers. So I went round his. As you can see, it's smooth, but you can just notice something's off. And if you're editing, remember this hasn't been edited. If you're doing a lot of like stuff, so you're doing some color corrections here and there, and you want to play back that footage, it will drop it in frames. So to save myself the hassle of changing it every time, I keep the preview as auto, because I can always save it as a raw file, and when it's rendered I watch the rendered file, then go back and edit it if needed. So basically it will say here in preview of what the preview screen is and what the display screen is, but the project will always be in 4K 25 frames per second. So when you render, you're rendering in the full best quality, not the preview screen. So once you have edited your video, done color correction, done all these fancy effects or whatever you're done doing, you want to go on to make movie, and you want to save the hard drive. You can save it to a camera or portable device, but I never do. You can either burn it to a DVD or Blu-ray disc, or if you're one of these people who directly upload straight to YouTube, you can do it to that, or Vimeo, or Facebook. It's up to your preference. So I'm going to choose the MP4 format. You can use MOV, but remember MP4 is good for internet ready videos. If you're doing archiving for HD videos, you can choose the AVC HD, but that's not very good if you're uploading to YouTube. So if you're uploading to YouTube, choose the MP4 format, or if you're just archiving it for later, then you can choose the AVC HD. So once you've selected that and chosen where you would like your movie to be saved, I want to go into advanced options. Yes, never go on straight to next. I want to go straight into advanced, because this is where it brings up all these different variety of choices. Now in the last one I made my own custom ones, which I did do 2 test videos, but they all came out poorly because I was getting new to the Studio 15. So what I went with are the default ones, and the default ones are really good. Now you can go to the one underneath, so you get Magic HEVC /AAC MP4, and you can basically render them off the graphics card. Now I've done this in the past, but I've noticed that the quality drops. Like when you run it off the graphics card, it doesn't look so good. I have a Nvidia GeForce 1060 graphics card, so that's probably why it's looking crap. But if you have a really fast one, you could probably get around this, and it does speed up the rendering because it's using the graphics card, not the actual CPU. So if you want to get fast rendering off your graphics card rather than using your CPU, just make sure that you have a really good graphics card. But if the quality does look shit, then I wouldn't advise using it. Instead, I would run it from the CPU. I do this, and my CPU is not the best. Well, it is. I can game on my PC, but it is an i5. And I am trying to upgrade it so I can actually improve the rendering time. But I choose the CPU, but you have the option of the graphics card. That's why I want to show you it, so I can show you all the graphics card options. As my file is a 4K, I want to choose the 4K one. Now I choose 25 frames per second because, as I said at the start, my camera records in 25p because of PAL settings. So if you're NTSC and you want to do 30 frames per second, you have to choose a 29.97 frames per second. Or if you have cameras that can do 60 frames per second or 50, then you have the options above you. And if you're just doing 1080p videos, whether it's for gaming or vlogs, then you have the 1080p files below. But remember, if you choose the NVIDIA one, the quality may suffer, so just keep that in mind. And if you're someone who's doing a bit of vlogging and gaming into one video, do the 4K one, because it will never upscale the 1080p one. It may show the 4K option in the YouTube, but it only should display 4K for the video files that were recorded in 4K. So if I added in a gameplay footage of me playing Spyro the Dragon, and it was in 1080p 60 frames per second, and I was adding this, which is doing 4K 30 frames per second, or 25p should I say, it would only show 4K for the actual 4K bits in the video. The 1080p will still look at 1080p. You can't really upscale it if you record it in 1080p. People say you can, but it's just an upscale. It doesn't actually improve it. It's still 1080p, just made it into a 4K box. So that's that out of the way. You can, if you are worried about that, you can just put your vlogging camera to 1080p, and that might resolve it if you're one of those people that are nitpicky. But for me, I really couldn't care. It's still going to look out the same. 1080p is going to look 1080p, 4K is going to look 4K. Once you choose that, you can then write whatever title you want to give it. It says Mark Reacts by default because this is actually the Mark Reacts project file, which I do all my Mark React scenes in, so it saves time with me changing all the settings around, so it's already preset for me. And if you want to go in the customize template, you can mess around with stuff that you want. I tend not to mess around with this because I tried doing it in the past and it came out a bit wrong. You need to know what you're doing, and it will do a lot of test errors and that, but I find that the default one is perfect. It's wonderful when you finally see it on the final display. So this video that I'm currently doing will be shown in 1080p, 60 frames per second, because that's what my screen recorder can do. So yes, I hope you guys have enjoyed this sort of like rendering video. I know it wasn't the best because I'm using defaults rather than custom ones, but I did spend ages trying to go for different custom ones, but I just couldn't find the right mix without all of it because so many errors, so many downscale in frames and quality. But every time I done with a CPU and on the default one, it came out stunning and great, like what it was meant to. So my advice is stick to the default ones because they do work, they do, and it may take longer in rendering, but it's worth it for the end result. If you have any questions or concerns, leave in the comment section below and I'll do my best of my abilities to answer them in due time. And if you want to see more and keep up to date with all the latest, all you gotta do is subscribe and turn on post notifications because I post videos each week. But until then, take care.